me. You mentioned the fact that this issue of salary freezes will have huge political implications during next year's local government elections. Could you kindly please just expand or elaborate more on that statement? And earlier in the week, the finance minister spoke extensively on SAA and also mentioning that it will be mostly private owned. What's your take on that and that announcement? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
From ENCA. Mine is just very simple, clarity-seeking question indeed. You say you will be writing to the International Labour Organization. Are things really that bad that you're now contemplating to go to the ILO to report your own government, which you are part of by extension as an alliance partner? Thank you very much.
Hi, it's Leo from Jacaranda FM. I just need clarity on page 5 where the COSATU is talking about the. I just want clarity because it says it rejects our aspirations. It's threatening the very foundation of the alliance. So, are you saying that the new liberal way that the ANC is taking is threatening the alliance? And if it is threatening the alliance, will we see any movement from? What steps is the alliance going to take? What steps is COSATU going to take to break away from the ANC? If so, because it seems like it's a threat, but like it doesn't have biting teeth. Like, what is COSATU really saying? Also, my other question is on the centralization of requirement. Why haven't we seen it happening? What is the holdback, and what steps COSATU is going to take to push the ANC to actually make the centralization of requirements happen in the next few months before the local government elections?
Oh, Silvers here from UFM. COSATU has consistently criticized successive ANC leadership from the days of former President Thabo Mbeki and to the current leadership now. How has this love-hate relationship been disguised in this meeting, the 3-day meeting that you had? And secondly, local government elections will be held next year. Will you tell people as well to still go ahead and vote the ruling party?
Think questions. Oh, so they wanted to repeat the question just.
Well, the first one says the COSATU as the islands of the ANC has consistently criticized the ANC since the days of the Thabo Mbeki as the former president to the current administration. Has this love-hate relationship between the ANC and COSATU been addressed in these meetings that you had? And the second one was, will you tell the people to vote for the ANC in the next year's local government?
Thank you. Leadership?
No, thanks. Let me attempt to respond to some, not all, of the questions that have been posed. Sorry, the salary freeze, huge implication on local government elections, and Tito's announcement. We were raising this because, and I think it's linked also to your question, Spamand, the one of the salary freeze, because it is undermining of the collective bargaining, and we don't want it to lose its essence of what it is. But remember, COSATU has taken in its last conference in 2018 a resolution to support the African National Congress. And that will be evaluated in the Central Committee going to its 14th National Congress, where a decision can then be reversed, changed. Now, we are raising this and we are saying to the African National Congress, its government, that because we're in alliance, Silo, also with the African National Congress, does not make us to be paralyzed on defending our members. We're in alliance with the ANC, but we're independent from the African National Congress. So the salary freeze one, it is the undermining of Convention 154 of the ILO, which the government of South Africa is a signatory to that, but also it has ratified that convention. So you can't ratify a convention and not respect it. So that is why we're going to write to the ILO and say to the ILO, the government of South Africa is undermining a convention that it is a signatory to and that it has ratified. They know the processes. We've been part of the ILO processes where we've also said these are the governments with no taking any favors. We as the Federation have always been at the forefront at the level of the ILO to ensure that any government that undermines any convention must be taken to the International Labour Organization in the conference under the Committee of Application of Standards. So we'll do the same with the government of South Africa. And they know the drill. But where we say it's going to have huge implications, remember, COSATU took this resolution, but we have always said our support for the ANC is not a blank check. We're not going to wear blindfolders. We need to go out and say to the members and society at large, vote for the African National Congress. But you can imagine the very same workers that took that decision must go and convince others when they themselves may not be convinced. Respecting the decision that exists in the Federation, but when your own government that you want to put in power is the one that has undermined your very own existence and the laws that are supposed to protect you, how do you convince others when you are not convinced yourself? So we're raising this to the African National Congress and saying, these are the things that will be playing itself out as much as, because we are not going to be held at ransom because we've got a resolution. Workers are not robots, you know, and you can't say, but we're holding you to your conference resolution, and yet you continue to butcher them in the process. So we're raising this and saying, this may have huge implications in the local government elections, because it is COSATU members that will have to go out and implement their Congress resolution. But if they are not convinced and they feel that they have been attacked by the very same government, what do you expect of them? And we're raising these issues because these are the issues that we are picking up from members. These are the things that workers are saying. And we only speak on behalf of the members that we represent. Well, on Minister Tito Mboweni, I may have missed it now. I did not pick it up, but if he says, I'm not sure if he did elaborate.
So he said that government will own part of SAA, but it will be mostly the private sector, and we just need to get on with it and get SAA.
The problem with Minister Tito, I'm not sure whether he tweeted or he
no, it was a
statement.
It was a statement. I think he was speaking to, was it Bloomberg?
Yeah,
the problem is that he's the finance minister. The problem is that he's the finance minister. And you have a minister that is responsible for state-owned entities. You see, so you don't know exactly whom are you talking to. This is exactly what has led us to the problems that we have in the public sector, because you have a minister that is responsible to deal with public sector issues. And you have the Minister of Finance that made pronouncement in the midterm budget statement about the processes that are supposed to be undertaken by a responsible minister. You see, we don't want to continue labeling people here. But really, we continue to raise our frustrations. And we're not sure where are those processes being undertaken. Is he now saying stop, let's stop any processes that would be undergoing? The minister of the state that is responsible for state-owned entities if there is a process with the unions internally at SAA and all other processes that must be followed, those processes now do not matter. Because I have decided, as the Minister of Finance, that this is how the ball is going to roll. Perhaps we need more clarity from him. He's speaking as the finance minister, so what is going to happen to these ministers that have departments to be leading? Are they accountable to him, or are they accountable to the president? Because our understanding is that Minister Tito Mbaweni is no different from any other minister. He's accountable to the president, just like others. We don't believe that there's a ministry that is super and all other ministries are reporting to. And so Spamanda, I dealt with your, I hope I did try to respond to your question in relation to the ILO. When things are bad, we're not going to sugarcoat them because they affect our members. That is why we're going to take the steps that we're going to take in relation to those issues. Silo, is it Silo, on the love-hate relationship? That's the relationship that we have. It's full of contradictions because of the constituencies that we represent, but we understand how that alliance was formed. And we can, COSATU will talk, that's why I was saying there's an NGC of the ANC that is coming. The Political Commission of COSATU will look into the released documents of the ANC NGC. There's an alliance summit that we are looking forward to, that we say it must now take place, where we are going to go and ventilate our issues as a component of the alliance on a number of issues. So our relationship will continue to have those contradictions, love, hate, call it, but because we represent, we are not the desk of the ANC, we are not the league of the ANC, we are a federation that represents over 1.5 million members. And we represent the interest of workers, organized or not organized. So we speak on behalf of those members. And we understand the ANC, so it will represent many interests of all components of society, but we represent the interest of the workers and the working class. So those contradictions will always be there. Yeah, let me allow other leaders to respond to some.
Actually, while we are still responding, if I were to call to Tito Mboweni here to assist, Uti, the new airline will be partly owned by the government and more broadly by private sector investors. So I'm quoting in verbatim.
Yes.
So basically, simply put, private investors will dominate the ownership, but partly owned by government. So that's privatization. That's what Tito said, speaking to Bloomberg.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, President.